Welcome, everybody. I'm Michael Gasper, the program manager of social media with HIMSS. This is admittedly my first blab, so thank you for John and the rest of the social media ambassadors this year for nudging me towards this platform. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We're a couple days out from the show, so I'm really excited to get everyone here, and we're going to take this time to use the illustrious expertise from a HIMSS and Health IT perspective of our social media ambassadors to talk about whatever the audience wants to talk about. We can talk about Health IT topics, logistics of the show, depending on how personal we want to get, some of our social media ambassadors' quirks and things that they do in their personal time, whatever it might be. So thanks again, and I'll turn it back over to you, John. And it looks like Andrew's joining us. So
definitely. So I think that's what everyone should know. I think we want to get as many people on camera as possible because that's the beauty of Blab is having as many people talk and share experiences and ask questions. So I think we'll rotate it through. Right now we have Matt Fisher and Andy, better known as Cancer Geek, they're on. But let's rotate through and have everyone join us. Also, a few logistical things if you've never used Blab before. If you like the person or you just like what they're saying, go ahead and click on their face. It gives them props. Everyone loves to get props. And also, if you have any questions but you don't want to hop on camera because you're shy like Mandy Bishop, then you can go ahead and put /Q and space, and it will queue up the questions for us so we can see those questions, and we'll definitely ask them. And if you have a question for someone in particular, go for it in the chat as well. So, Matt, I guess you're first up since you're the first to join. What are you most excited about for this upcoming HIMSS conference?
I'm most excited for being there for the first time. I've never been before. So it's, having this inside perspective has been great because I feel like I'm actually getting to learn things ahead of time. I listened to the first time attendee webinar, which was a little bit overwhelming. And when I keep describing the conference to everybody in my office, the jaws kind of drop.
Yeah.
I think I stunned someone else in my office because she's actually just going to Vegas for vacation for the week. I was like, you're going to run into about 40,000+ people there for a conference, so good luck. But then, other than that, I'm also just looking forward to meeting all you guys in person because, I feel like there's been so much interaction over the past couple of years on Twitter and other places on social media. So to me, getting the in-person meeting with everybody is going to be the best part.
Agreed. It always is. I think, John, you're a veteran.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess this is my 7th HIMSS, so I'm not a veteran like some people, but I think you're right though that some of the best stuff really is spending time with people that you've interacted with online or through other medium, and you finally get a chance to meet them in person and find out what they're really like. I mean, it's great that Andy joined us, Cancer Geek, because I just had that experience with him at another conference. I showed up and we ended up at the same dinner, and I was just like, oh, wow. I interacted with him hundreds of times online, and then I finally got to meet him in person. And what's interesting is, you'll have an interesting experience there, though. Some of the people will disappoint you, but then sometimes you'll meet Andy and you'll be like, wow, he's even more incredible in person than he is online, which then you're even more shocked, which luckily there are more of that than there is the former. Welcome, Andy.
Well, hey, thanks. I'm glad that I could take some time out and hop off calls and jump on. And yeah, to John's point, I would agree. I think that's like the really great thing about sort of the age that we live in is you make these connections and have these 140 character limiting conversations and start to share and connect with people. But then when you get to connect in real life and you sit down and you break bread and talk to one another, you realize that people are even more amazing in person. So I have to say, this being my first HIMSS, I'm super excited. I'm kind of like, thinking, hey, I need to have my autograph book and a set of, trading cards so I can get, autographs from, both of you and from Mandy and from Wen and from all these people that I've, had a online relationship with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's great. The selfie is the new autograph, so you don't need the book. As long as you have your phone, that's what I found. So definitely, And Mandy asked an interesting question for first timers. She said, "What's your biggest fear for your time at the show?" Any fears, Andy? Since you're the first timer, Michael and I are old hat, but no, geez.
Yeah. I reached out to Mandy and I kind of said, hey, I need some tips. So, when it comes to some of the social media meetups, is everyone invited? Who can go to what and those types of things. I think for me, I've been inundated with a bunch of emails from vendors, saying, hey, do you want us to email you? Can you come by our booth? Come to this, conversation. And so it's just trying to figure out how do I manage making the connections and talking to people versus all of this other stuff that's going on. So that's kind of my fear. And Mandy and John and Michael and everyone, you guys have been great to help me with that.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember if the social media ambassadors had the checkbox that says "Don't put me on the press list." I don't know. We might have to explore that because they definitely can be overwhelming. I think I got about 150 pitches, and some of those include 5 to 10 pitches in each email, so it can be overwhelming. It's great.
I have to say, that's super awesome and important too, because having a non-promotional, topically focused angle on taking your products and services and contextualizing them with what people want and all the great initiatives you guys are championing every day. I think for me at least, it's encouraging to be able to see that, because I think you guys really represent the voice of the consumer in a lot of different ways, given your unique perspectives. So, for me, I'm really excited to see vendors kind of reaching into those influencer networks and using them to contextualize their products and services so that way they can add value in the marketplace. So all in all, I'm sorry that it inundates you guys, but from my perspective, I think it's a big win.
That's good. So Andy, actually, not Andy. I just lost the message. The chat's so fast. That's one of the challenges with this chat, I guess, having so many popular people. Matt said, he said, my first time fear is, and it just scrolled again, but he said his fear is that he's afraid of missing out because he didn't know where to go or where to be. I was thinking about it yesterday, and the reality at HIMSS is you're going to miss out. There's just so much going on that you're going to miss something that you probably would have enjoyed. And so you kind of just almost have to embrace the fact that stuff's going to happen and you're going to miss it, and just make the most of where you're at. So welcome, Chuck. Welcome, Glenn. Chuck, anything you want to add?
I've been coming to him since 95. That was the year that vendors hit about 350, and that was the first year that HIMSS had 10,000 plus attendees. And so how times have grown and changed.
Indeed. Glenn, is this your first HIMSS, or how many HIMSS have you been to?
17, I think. I think it's my 17th HIMSS.
So old hat for you, huh? Well, Mandy has a question for you then.
I'm Blab right now. It's my first time on Blab, so I'm kind of freaking out.
So you have an appreciation for the first timer at HIM, okay?
Yeah, no, it's actually it's my probably my 17th year. Always coming down, being from Canada, as you may know. So trying to stay connected and plugged in. HIMSS is one of the best ways to do that as a Canadian. So, and whether I was in the private sector or the public sector, I go down every year religiously. So we're very pleased to be going down again. So yeah, and it's in Vegas. So what do you say?
Well, what's interesting, Carrie just offered a great insight. She said, did you know that over 40% of HIMSS attendees are first-timers each year? So that's pretty incredible. Mandy asked the question, for the veterans, what's the single best time management tip you can offer the first-timers? Any time management tips, Chuck or Glenn or Michael?
I have a strange time management strategy, which I'm not sure would work for everybody. But I try to keep my schedule as open as possible. So there are this generation, folks don't want to talk to you on the phone. They want it to be asynchronous and so forth. And then what I do is I wander around, and people know where I am because I'm tweeting a lot. And it's a little bit like there's the trade-off when you're setting up schedules for a waiting room. And there's a kind of, there's walk-ins, and then there's, scheduling. And I just find going with the flow works really well for me. However, if you're there to investigate a particular kind of product or product category, you need a much more structured approach. And I'm looking forward actually to hearing Glenn or other folks, because I'd like to pick up some ideas. I think maybe I'm a little too flexible and I need to go back toward more structure.
It's funny you say that, because the only way I'm getting through this one is through structure. So it's been complicated by this ambassadorship thing, right? Because I find that trying to get my time sorted out on this trip has been more important than ever. Typically in the past, I'd have a couple of key events and show up and kind of go with the flow and be very surprised with what happened. Now I think heading in, it's like for those of you that dive, create your plan and dive that plan is what I plan to do on this. Otherwise, I'm going to be all over the place. I've got times blocked up at night just for catching up and anything that comes out of the day. But every day is booked in half-an-hour slots or 1-hour slots to be able to get to do all the things that I can do. And it's different, again, this year because the ambassador thing. I'm trying not to promote my own interests and go after things that I personally want to do for me and my company. But it's actually pretty overwhelming, and I've never planned for HIMSS in the past as much as I've planned for this HIMSS. For the last 2 weeks, we've been planning everything and right down to the minute to know where we're going to be at, which in the past has been, just like we just said, completely free-flowing, have a lot of fun, see what comes up, and I'm always challenged because I use this, right? You guys remember what that is? Anybody know what that is?
Is that a BlackBerry?
BlackBerry. And I have I'm going to sucker, so that only makes things tougher. But it's great for scheduling and meetings and all that. I find better than iPhone and Android. Sorry, I think, but it's tough for tweeting and social media. But anyway, I have to be structured because I'm equipped with this.
You'll have to take a tip from your fellow Canadian, Colin Hung, who likes to double fist. So I think he does BlackBerry one side for schedule, the other one for tweeting. So you can take a lesson from him.
Yeah. I'm gonna sign off now to let other people come on, but I do want to say this is my 5th generation of HatCam. I started in 12, and I've gone through actually 5 kinds of technology. Last year was Google Glass, and I do 1-minute interviews. So if you see this hat that says HatCam, and you see this little camera, come up and I'll do a 1-minute interview with you. I'll ask you any question you want, and I will upload it and tweet it out literally on the spot.
That's some crazy good workflow, Chuck.
Looking forward to seeing you guys at HIMSS.
You had to go to the workflow, didn't you?
I had to.
So some other feedback.
You're gonna make me stay. Careful, you're gonna make me stay. You don't want
some other feedback. Carrie says, plan. That's some good feedback. Shimcode says his tip is don't spend too much time with people and vendors you already know, at least during the day. Which it's good to discover new things, right? So that's great. Colin added, put things into your calendar and use the HIMSS 16 app. Very helpful. And I've been using the HIMSS 16 app. It is a lot better than some of the previous years where it wasn't as good. This year's is quite excellent. Colin also adds, also got to make sure you spend time in the exhibit hall, especially with the smaller, innovative companies in the back. And this year, because it's Vegas, there's 2 floors. So I would add not just the back, but the ones downstairs. If you want some attention, go down there. I have a feeling that they're going to be happy to see you. So that's my suggestion there. Let's see, anyone else? Yeah.
The one thing I'll add is, and this is kind of been the mantra of our team, is planned or scheduled chaos. So, I mean, if you are tweeting, especially for the social media ambassador group here, I mean, schedule some stuff out, leave time for that in-real moment sharing, that connection, because the more you do plan, the more I find that you have room to be a little more spontaneous and kind of meet those those gem of network connections, or find that gem in the education that maybe you overlooked because you were trying to frantically get your life together between tweets and emails and things like that. So that's definitely, like, planning is key, both from a social media and just kind of a meetings perspective.
And Carrie corrected me. There's actually 3 floors. I forgot. There's the basement, the main floor, and then the 3rd floor is the HX360, I think, the Innovation Pavilion. Sorry. Go ahead, Mandy.
No, so it's funny. I just jumped back on for a minute because the time management thing is something that's incredibly tough for me this year. And I wanted to jump on just to remind the people that this is Vegas and that it is vast. So it's not just that the Sands Expo Center is enormous, but if you are trying to juggle not just attending the show, but also, if you are meeting with people, if you're going to events, if you're doing all of the other kind of ancillary things that happen around HIMSS, you've got to plan for a lot of travel time. So not just the time management for the stuff that you want to do, but to be able to physically get from one place to another can be tough. So make sure that you've adequately allowed yourself time to walk, and not just to walk and to walk fast, but to talk to people in the hallways. It's like Michael was just saying, there's so much hallway conversation that can happen. Yeah. What are you laughing at over there?
I'm laughing because, it's true for you. If you're someone famous like Mandy B. Pro and you're walking down the hall, you probably just get stopped over and over. Can I have a selfie, right? Andy already admitted he wanted a selfie with you. So, for us that don't get stopped, we don't need
whatever. But even, you want to make time to stop. You want to have the opportunity to have conversations, and I'm a big believer in serendipity. And I know, John, we talked about this in the last blab that we did with Melissa McCool. Like, serendipity happens. And at a show like HIMSS, where there's 40,000 people there, you never know what connection might lead to your next opportunity, whether it's within your own organization, whether it's with a new company, whether it's something that you're just really passionate about and you want to have a conversation that might be life-changing. I know that sounds hokey, but it's true. Like, John has changed my life. I love John. John's amazing. And a lot of that, and a lot of the opportunity that's happened for me in the last several years has been because of the serendipity at shows like HIMSS. So anyway, make time. Make time to travel, make time.
Well, I'm going to use that as a segue, actually, because one of the questions was, how do you become an SMA? And, I'd love to talk a little bit about what, the 3 of you here, what your experience has been. And the segue here, I think, and the connection point is, you guys are kind of catalysts for serendipity, I would say, because, you guys have so many cool perspectives on what needs to happen to make healthcare accessible, affordable, and, and streamlined through technology. And you guys are really, I think, the prime for the pump. So I think, given that, and the fact that I think everyone on this blab should definitely follow you guys and see what you guys are doing during the show, and how you guys kind of bring the serendipitous nature to life. Talk a little bit about what your experience has been in this program so far and kind of what you want to see coming out of it going into the show.
John, you want to go first?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting for me because I've always gone as press to the show, and this time I decided to just apply to be a social media ambassador. And what's been really interesting is the exposure you get as a social media ambassador is incredible, and you don't get nearly as many press pitches. For most people,
I can't imagine that that's true. I can't imagine that that's true, John. Seriously?
Because I actually signed up one of my other riders as press, and I see the pitches that email gets versus mine, and it's totally different. So, that's been the huge difference for me. But So I think that's one aspect, is just the opportunity to engage with so many people, and the way that as a social media ambassador, you're amplified in the conference. It really feels a bit like you're being treated like a rock star. And I think it's it's funny because Shahid Shah, who is also a social media ambassador, he one time told me, he said, you and I we're just normal guys, right? We're just normal guys doing normal things. He said, but to other people, we might be the most famous people that they meet at HIMSS, which is like, in our heads, I don't think we're comfortable with that idea, like that we're in some way famous, because we're just average people doing what we can to help improve healthcare IT. So, I guess that's my challenge is, maybe it's true. Like some people, especially the way Hims promotes the social media ambassadors, you feel pretty special, right? And it's pretty nice, but yet we're just...
It's not an accident, John.
Huh?
Not an accident. You guys are awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
I was just going back through all of the, kind of all of my memories of Hims and of how this program has evolved, because the first time that I went to Hims not as a vendor was in 2013. And so I went as press, because this was before the social media ambassador program started. And so I went as press with John, and and then the next year the social media ambassador program kind of officially started, and there were 10 of us, because I was just looking at and Brian Ahier had pulled together the graphic, the original social media ambassador graphic that had all of our Twitter avatars on a photo tile. And, looking at that, there were 10 of us in the first class, and then there were like 15 of us in the second class. And then there's 20, there are 20 of us this year. So watching the program grow and watching, the way, not just the participation for us and kind of the framework and giving us access to all the content and allowing as much as it is exhausting getting the vendor pitches, John, I'm thinking,
but I have a different role than most.
It's seriously, it cracks me up. I'm responding now, and I'm like, hey, would you all, if you would really like me to come to your booth, how about you go to the Dell booth and you go and look at everything that Dell has to offer, and then you let me know whether or not you actually want to try to spend time. Yeah, I haven't been quite that. I haven't been quite that way, but it's been really the way the fact that the social conversation, it's not just the growth of the program and the number of people participating, but the growth of the industry and social media's influence on the industry and our ability to take the conference and broadcast it and involve the external world, and seeing that happen in the exponential increase in social conversation year over year, right? So Chuck has been phenomenal about, he's tracking all of the social conversations that are happening, and he is doing those metrics, and he's telling us every year how we're performing against last year. He's even telling us down to the day and down to the hour, like this hour last year was way more popular. And why? Because Jonathan Bush or somebody threw a pie in Jonathan Bush's face at his Talkapalooza at this particular time. So that's what happened. But it's funny, that conversation is now getting out, and we have the opportunity to make a bigger impact, I think, outside of this echo chamber of those of us insiders in healthcare. So I don't know, it's awesome. I'm so excited to do it. It's so fun, and watching the growth of the program year over year has been fantastic.
Yeah, I think at Shimcode has been doing even more. The way he curates tweets on his at HIT Conf guy is just incredible.
Art wants to know if it's a certification. We should so put together a curriculum for this.
We thought about HITMC doing a certification for social media stuff. Maybe I should work with Hims to do that. But to answer Art's question, no, it's not a certification. It's really a kind of a recognition, and we try to assist as social media ambassadors, assist the Hims social media team, since they're a small team. They kind of, I don't know, curate, but also, we apply to be social media ambassadors. They selected 20 this year, and we just try to assist them in broadcasting what's happening at Hims and helping people have a good time. Is that a good summary, Michael?
I definitely say so. I think the hardest part of this program is selecting and whittling down. We had so many applications this year, like to Mandy's point, the rock star nature of this status. It's highly coveted, and a lot of people want to be involved and I think have that access. But all in all, that's probably the hardest part of my job is, deciding, who gets to be an SMA. So I think the idea of certification could be pretty compelling to make it a little bit less subjective. So, of course, we're always open for new ideas and feedback. So if there's something else we could be doing better, because ultimately this is designed to serve everyone on this blab and in the industry. So we're all ears. Hey, Colin.
We're being very international now by having two Canadians on at the same time. Glenn, you want to follow up with a comment about? 17 years ago, social media didn't exist.
Right. When
you first came to Hims, right? So, any thoughts?
Canadians are on the bottom here. They should be on the top geographically. So we're actually below. We're like Mexico here on Blab.
We try to make it. At Hims, we try to make it sure you look at things from a new angle.
So in Canada, Colin, are you an ambassador in Canada for the eHealth conference?
No, I just got told about that yesterday by Pat. So no, I'm not yet.
So now we have the eHealth Conference, which is a smaller conference in Canada, run by Coach and Canada Health InfoWay and CIHI. They created the same program. So your best practice is being copied in Canada.
Nice. That's what HIMSS does. They set the bar for a lot of things. Carrie offered an interesting comment. She said Hootsuite's in Canada as well, and I know a lot of us use Hootsuite, and they're doing a lot with healthcare. And she said they created a curriculum with Mayo Clinic for healthcare social media, I assume. That's pretty interesting. Maybe she can share a link in the chat. Let's take it another direction as well. Jessica asked the question, what sessions are you most looking forward to at HIMSS? Any sessions that are kind of must-see HIMSS TV for you guys?
Well, for me, I'm very honored because I'm going to get my first jacket for the Walking Gallery. So
nice.
Virginia's going to be there. She's doing up a jacket for me that I gave her a couple of years ago. And I finally wrote my story. Like 2 years older, I got more to tell, I guess. And so to see her, and I think it's at the Xerox booth and all of that, and be there with the other Walking Gallery folks. I've always kind of watched on like the other rock stars. We were talking earlier about the rock star stuff. Promoting that and being part of the Walking Gallery, I'm very pleased to be a part of this year. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. I'd say my session, there's a couple. I think, as I looked at the ONC sessions, I found one which was really a working session for MU, really describing the details and the intricacies. And I like that when I look at a government session, because a lot of government sessions can just be puff and not actually improve your life. But if you're into MU, that working one where they can answer specific questions seemed like a really good one. Another one that interests me is Mitt Romney and Michael Levitt are doing a luncheon during HX 360. You have to be part of the executive track, as I understand, to go to it. But those two are far enough removed from the political process that I think that they could speak frankly, and they're both super interesting, smart people. So those are two that I would highlight. And of course, I guess I have to highlight the meetups, right? We got the Social Media Ambassador meetup on, let's see, when is that? Wednesday at 3 at the HIMSS spot. Mm-hmm. The Health IT Chicks one is a good one on Tuesday at 10 a.m. At the HIMSS spot as well. And then we're doing the HITMC, which is the healthcare IT marketing community. That's 3 on Monday. So if your booth's ready, skip out and come over at 3 o'clock at the HIMSS spot. Colin, any sessions you'd add?
Well, there's a few on the actually on the UX side that I'm kind of interested in, on the user experience and the user design side, that I'm going to be checking out. I'm kind of interested to see, now that the MU shackles are off, how we're going to go. Where they're going to take things in terms of design for EHRs or other tools. And we've talked about it before, where there's just so many apps out there now. I'm really curious to see whether somebody's going to come out and say, look, finally, let's design something that really actually works, as opposed to something that's just sort of functional. So I'm checking out a bunch of these UX type sessions that I'm hopefully going to see something that's going to be pretty cool.
Nice.
One more event that we have to plug is the Canadian Reception. It would be great if all the ambassadors came across the Canadian Reception on Tuesday night. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, the Canadian Reception is fun because we serve alcohol, and it's the Canadian. It's about it's the Canadian tax dollars at work, right? Which is awesome. So the way I see it is, I'm getting some money back from the government when I go to that event.
It's free. There's food. There's booze. And Colin will be there.
That's right. And
yeah. And you don't have to be Canadian to go?
You don't have to be Canadian to go.
Not at all.
And it's Tuesday at 5, you said?
Yeah. Look, Tuesday 5 to... Tuesday 5 to 7.
You guys all look Canadian.
Nice.
You guys all look Canadian.
I'm part Canadian. I've been there once. I went and visited Toronto. But yeah, and Colin and I are actually hosting the New Media Meetup as well, Wednesday night, 6 to 8. It's near the end of the conference, basically a big party of social media people. So the number of selfies that comes out of that is incredible. But even better is we have a good time and share a lot of knowledge. So.
And of course, there's a mechanical bull. So you can't go wrong with a mechanical bull as part of your get-together.
Sign the waiver.
That's right.
We have the ICD-10 code
right.
ready.
We actually had to look that up, right, John? Like the ICD-10 code for falling off a mechanical pole. We have it.
Yes.
Oh, send that to me,
I
Colin.
gotta go. So I'll vacate this seat. Thank you. This is very fun for me the first time to do this. So we'll see you guys online, and we'll see you in Vegas.
Take it easy, Glenn.
All right.
Any other sessions that you like, Michael? Anything
Yeah.
special?
I got to plug a couple. Again, the social media ambassador meetup. This is just coming to fruition as of today. It's going to be a great opportunity for 5 of the ambassadors to kind of share their unique perspectives on what's happening at the show. And then we can connect on those topics. And then, and then just kind of save some time for networking, rubbing elbows with our ambassadors. But the other one I'm really excited about is the millennial reception. It's sold out, unfortunately, but I think I'm really excited to see how the new leadership generation is going to kind of take hold of healthcare moving forward. And I think it's going to be an important conversation. I mean, a lot of us are digital natives, so I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the conversation changes for, generations to come. So that's kind of my pie in the sky, like big idea reception. I'm really interested in, seeing unfold. And I have to give a huge shout out to John Mertz, who's chairing that and has worked with me directly. And, I think he's doing a great job, and he's really championing the generational leadership, both gap and opportunities. So those are the 2 that I think are really, really close to me and on my radar.
Sarah Benight asked, was there a Gen X reception that she missed somewhere along the way? I think the show is a Gen X show, so.
So true.
But
complete the soundtrack too to go with it. That appeals to Gen Xers.
That's true. The Hymn 16 mixtape. Check it out.
That's right. Sorry, I had to plug that. I'm gonna step off. I'm gonna let some other folks maybe join in. I'm gonna step off, guys. But it's been fun. Always love blabbing. Got to thank Chuck and Jimmy for turning me on to it. So, anyways, I'll see you guys in Vegas.
Take it easy.
Yeah, one other session that I thought was interesting is that the CIO forum that Chime does at HIMSS. They have the first female F-14 pilot speaking. So I think that will be an interesting one. I can't imagine what she went through becoming that first female F-14 pilot. So I bet she has some great lessons in leadership and overcoming challenges and barriers. So I think that will be another good session. I know that's on Monday, I think about 3, something like that.
I have to give mad props to Chuck here with that hat. I didn't see the ambassador logo on there until just now. So, man, between you and Steve Cisco, we've got some great swag for this program this year.
So let's hit Carrie's next question. She said, how do you approach knowledge consumption versus social media? And cut off the question. Versus social sharing. My mind is blown by the multitasking that she sees. So, what's the balance between consuming content versus sharing it? I even had someone come on and I can't remember if they commented on my blog or sent a tweet and said they were angry at a few social media people who shared too much and they shouldn't share that much. And when they did, they had to mute them because they didn't want to know every single thing that person was hearing in that session. For me personally, I like when people do that. I can skip through it if I don't like it. And if I'm not in that session, it almost feels like I'm there. And if I'm in the session, it like double reinforces the message that I'm reading. But I understand how for some people that could be overwhelming. Any thoughts, Michael or Chuck?
Go ahead, Chuck.
We lost audio, I think.
Yeah, you on mute? Bummer, but I'll dive in. I struggle with this one just because, being a social media professional, and after reading Dr. Nick's, who's also a social media ambassador, his blog recently, he said, one of his tips was to look up. So instead of tweeting and, kind of just paying attention to your phone, like engage with the people around you. So, how do you strike that balance between, social sharing and capturing a fleeting moment, which could be really valuable for all of us, especially in the social media realm as we try to spread this message digitally, but also kind of get what you paid for and, and really, experience the show as it was meant to be experienced. So I don't really have an answer. Like I think it's really up to preference. I think we're always struggling and understanding new ways to kind of strike that balance. So it'll be another year of learning for me.
So Mandy offers this answer. She said, I digest very little when I'm in live tweet mode, but I do keep a separate log of the quotes, tweets, links that I want to dig into later, and I go back when the Himsanity is over. For me personally, when I'm in live tweet mode, I'm in live consumption mode as well. So I'm actually doing both, when I do it. My challenge is when I'm in meetings with people, it's hard for me to consume, right? So it's a little offensive if I'm in a meeting with 2 or 3 people to then say, let me go check my Twitter feed. So, and I have to do a lot of meetings with him. So I miss a lot of the social media. Max, I know this is your first Hims, as I recall, right? So tell us about your thoughts.
I'm a little overwhelmed. I think I've got a good game plan for, I'm live tweeting as myself and doing some brand tweets for Galen. And so I'm kind of managing 2 Twitter accounts, but social media is my only responsibility. So I'm psyched for that.
That's good.
But I'm just kind of wondering too I really want to make sure I'm capturing content for people who are not there. And I know there's no live stream this year. So any suggestions for really helping to identify those people that are live tweeting content and not just visit my booth, but get an Apple Watch, that I'm trying to find the best way to filter.
I've got a couple options for you. First of all, we created a Twitter list of all the social media ambassadors. So we know that, a lot of them are going to be sharing really quality content. So in terms of housing all their tweets in one place, that I think would be a good place to look and kind of follow along. We've also tried to segment the conversation this year based off of topic and role with the Hims 16 hashtag guide. I think we've got 20-something hashtags in there almost where they're thoughtfully created. We've been trying to foster communities around these hashtags, not just use them as topical curation indexing tools. But I think those would be 2 strong tools to kind of get what you need and kind of sift through some of the clutter. And just to give you a little transparency, some of those hashtags are tied to the pre-conference symposia and some of the specialty exhibition areas. So you'll get some really rich content based off of that topic. And those are coordinated across the board. They're on signage on site. So you should be able to, kind of get the experience based off of the topic you really care about.
Awesome.
Mandy also suggested you can exclude the word booth in your searches. So if you go to, I think it's search.twitter.com and then click advanced search, you can choose to exclude certain words. So I know some people like to put booth in the exclusion. You can also add free. There's some other words like that where you start to do it and you can curate a little bit that way, but still get the Hims 16 hashtag. I've kind of gone the other direction on the booth as well, though. I'm not against people tweeting about the booth because I was looking for a vendor and I was like, let me go to their Twitter page and find out what booth they were at. And I went there and, of course, they didn't have a tweet about a booth. So then I was angry, wait, I want to know where your booth was. And something was wrong with the mobile app. So, yeah, I don't think it's bad for them to tweet about booth, but I think they need to do other if they really want to get noticed. So. But that's one, advanced search on Twitter or Hootsuite has it as well. Other ones have it. So, that's good. I think your question about balancing the business interest, though, with covering the event is definitely a challenge, especially as a social media ambassador where, okay, you're there for work, but you're also there as a social media ambassador. I don't think there's one right answer. I think you just do the best you can. And be above board and be transparent with what you're doing. And I think people will appreciate you for that.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, from our perspective, we really want you guys to build a personal brand. And I think that's also if we think about longevity, you may be at one organization one day, but at another the next. So it's not necessarily tied to your business objectives, but I think your personal brand and the longevity of your career, that's something that's a common denominator no matter where you go. So that's what we're really trying to, I think, to advocate with this program is to, encourage you guys to build your personal brands because I think that means a lot more to, the day-to-day social media user than it does, from an entity or organization. So humanizing, the topics and the conversation, I think, is kind of what we try to do when we designed this program.
Hey guys, I just dropped in.
Welcome, Liam.
I don't want to stay too long, because this is a subject you guys are much more expert than I am. I curate the IrishMed tweet chat, which we do every Wednesday, 5 p.m. ET. We developed it over the last couple of years, and it's developed into a wonderful global network of good people trying to help each other and give each other advice. So I suppose, Mike, what I'd really like to try and get is a single source of well-validated information from your event, which would be easy to pick up and easy to follow and learn lessons from. I think one of the problems with social media, there's so much information coming in that picking out the good stuff can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I used to practice as a doctor, the more patients you got, the harder it was to pick out the sick one. When you're looking for a needle in a haystack, the last thing you need is more hay. So I just wanted advice on what's the best single place to go to get the concise message.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And I think, props to Healthcare IT News this year. They've really upped the game with the coverage they're doing pre-show, and I think all the stuff that they're doing on site. So it's a very strong journalistic editorial angle on all the conference happenings. And we've really dialed in with them from a social and networking perspective, but also focusing on the substance of the show itself and the speakers. So I would say that's at Healthcare IT News /HIMSS or destinationhims.com. So there should be a lot of good stuff there. They also have a really cool live blog that's going to be it's going to be happening during the show. All the editors are kind of put to task and keeping that active. And then they also have a social hub where it's kind of taking out the best of the social conversation and socializing it in one easy to digest feed.
Great.
I just got a little scare from Amanda Berkey over here. I think she's hilarious.
She wants to hop on camera. She's jealous, but Mandy made a comment. It depends on your area of interest.
To leave an open spot, but I'll be following the conversation. Thanks, guys.
And Liam, we'll touch base offline too. I'm happy to give you more resources.
Thanks, bud.
Excellent. Yeah, some comments in the sidebar. Mandy said she suggests it depends on your area of interest, which is a real challenge, right? Because those 45,000 people at HIMSS represent every aspect of healthcare. So whether you're a payer or a doctor or a nurse or an informaticist or whatever you might be, you might have a different interest. But I liked Colin's suggestion. I'll steal from him. He said that looking at the blogs that are done at HIMSS and after HIMSS are a great way to get that summary in a nice, concise way and to hear some of the themes that are happening. So I would highlight those as well. The blogs that are happening during, after, all of that, are a great way to consume it, because essentially they've started filtering down into the blog post to say, here's what was interesting. And so that's a quick way to do it, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. Welcome back, Chuck.
Is my mic working?
You're back.
Is my mic working?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Here's another good example. If you want to know about workflow, just follow Chuck, and you'll find everything workflow that happens at HIMSS. So.
I want to go back to there was a comment about sharing versus consuming. Okay, and I wrote about this in the activity stream. I actually was a university professor for a few years, and there's this idea in education called constructivism, which is the best way to learn and to master is to create. Okay, and in fact, that underlies the maker movement, which I'm always in that 3D printing and building silly robots and so forth. The reason I tweet and the reason I write my blogs, I'm glad that people like them, and certainly it's been helpful in extrinsic ways. I do it for the intrinsic reason to learn and master this subject. And I have so many alerts in a variety of social media. When I get up in the morning, I have all these workflows that are kind of giving me like an executive dashboard state of the industry regarding healthcare workflow and workflow technology. And then I have to sort through them. And of course, I use a variety of now semi-automated fashions to sort of prioritize and find the best stuff, and then send out the best stuff. In the act of prioritizing and the act of condensing things down so that they fit in a tweet, and the act of screen capturing the paragraph, and then going into the paragraph and highlighting the exact phrase and screen capturing that and sticking that in the tweet, all of that is incredibly useful for consuming, that is learning. Okay, and so I think that the trade-off between learning and consuming versus sharing is a little bit like the trade-off. People say, well, it costs more to have greater quality. Well, in fact, if you create more efficient workflows, then you can have your cake and eat it too. And part of that is where innovation involves innovation either in workflows and processes, or innovations in your own sort of personal workflows, to become a continual informavore, a learning machine, because that is the future. People say you're going to have 20 careers. You have to spend 5 to 10 hours a week learning in order to flourish in the future. And social media is a really great way to do that, and also participate in a community, because it can be kind of lonely with your nose stuck in a book. Like you'd ask any medical student the first year, or any graduate student. And so this is the coffee cooler to me. This is anyway. I'm kind of rambling and going on and on there, but okay, I will sign off.
Thanks, Chuck.
No, I think it's a challenge, right? It's something I deal with every HIMSS is what's the balance between consuming, creating, and interacting on social media. Any one of those, you could spend your entire HIMSS doing, one individual thing, just creating content or just interacting or just consuming content. So, to me, I kind of just say, hey, let the waves ride where they will. Mm-hmm. You have a strategy about what's interesting and put up a few searches that are really focused. And then I focus most of my attention on the interactions and the engagement, because I think that's what changes people's lives, including my own. So, I focus more effort on the engaging, and so, often that's not on the HIMSS 16 hashtag, that's behind the scenes in a DM, or it's in a reply. So, that's the approach I take to handling the wave that is all this social media.
So, and Mandy just asked the question, once we've either consumed, created, curated, whatever it might be, how do we take these learnings and make them actionable? And again, I'm just going to plug a little bit of this program, because I think that's exactly what we want to do. Is when you have 20 of some of the brightest people, at one place at one time, kind of consuming the same information and sharing their own perspectives, you have a really rich opportunity to capture that real moment, and then, basically look at it and re-examine it after the show. And that's essentially what we've asked every ambassador to do is, after they come back from the show, let's look at everything that you experienced and then translate that into an action plan for the next year. So actually just, after the show, you can anticipate a lot of these industry perspectives to be created from at least 10, if not more, of the ambassadors. And then we can package those and start to use those as a roadmap for how to learn and what to do next, And I think if we really use you guys as, again, that catalyst, I think, some good things can happen, and we can maybe close the gap on some of the stakeholder misalignment that we're seeing in the industry.
Yeah, Colin knows this is my favorite question. It's almost like I teed it up on Mandy. I've often applied it to Twitter chats and said, okay, well, what actually was accomplished in that Twitter chat, right? So, it's like, what was the value that was generated from it? So I think it's a good question to ask yourself, and likely each person has their own individual response based on what they're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to become more educated? Are you trying to become socially connected to help improve your career? Are you trying to improve your product? And so you need people that you can get feedback from. You can get that as well. Are you trying to just navigate the show and make the most of the show and know where the most interesting things are, right? So I think each one has a different take about what are you getting out of it, and then how do you make it actionable in your lives, though, is the next step. But I think if you focus on the right interactions with the right people, then it just influences your future life and your decisions in a way that's really natural. You don't have to force it. It also wakes you up to maybe the other opportunities that are available in the community, because there is so much opportunity. And so, that's the other thing I would add.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple other questions have come in. Let's see. Let's have Steve's. Well, let's do Jimmy's question since it's first. He says, "What's your viewpoint on Blab? Do you like the medium?"
Oh man, I think Amanda already said this in the chat, but I could see why you guys are obsessed with it. It puts Google Hangouts to shame. Yeah, I actually I love this because it's not quite the face-to-face interaction that we want and we're looking forward to on site, but it's not quite that, that disconnected, although albeit somewhat connected, social media experience. So this is a nice bridge between the two. I think it's great. I definitely anticipate, working this into a way for Hims and myself to connect with the community a little bit more. And I think it's so valuable to be able to have these interactions and have such a rich dialogue. And this just amplifies the learning that I think we're all kind of looking for. So I love it. So thanks to you guys for introducing.
Yeah, we found it quite interesting. I've been doing a lot of them. I love the interaction. It goes back to Mandy's point, though, about how do you take it beyond the conference, right? If all we do is meet together once at Hims, then we go back to our daily lives and forget about each other, then, we kind of miss the point of the interactions and the connection. So, Blab is another way that's almost as good as the in-person interaction. So, and obviously it's nice when you have 167 people find the Blab and you have 30, 40 people on at a time, you're rotating through. That was what Blab was meant to be. And, and then you get a whole broad variety. We've been to Ireland, we've been to Canada, we've been across the US interacting. And, that's amazing that that's possible all for free, with people on camera. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Nice. Well, it seems like this is a perfect question to end it, right? Since we've been so serious for the hour. And there's a couple seats if anyone else wants to join. But Steve Cisco asked the important question. After his Talkapalooza, which, by the way, you can't get in if you don't have a ticket. But what do you think is the best, most fun, and informative after-hours event? Michael, are you allowed to talk about this? Are you guys allowed to go to events? I guess you come to the media meetup, so...
And sadly, I might have to miss the majority of that one just because the millennial reception's right at the same time. I know. I'm bummed.
You're too old for millennial. That's what I was told. But
don't let the hairline fool you. But
yeah, I heard it does overlap. But we'll have the after party. So
yeah, I don't know. For me, there's not, and this is such a cop out of an answer, but. For me, there's not any one thing that stands out outside of that feeling when all of it's kind of over and you're like, and but other than that, it's just, there's so many fun gems throughout, the show. The day-to-day interactions, I think Mandy was talking about being able to meet your professional celebrity, sightings, I know, I geeked out hardcore when I got to meet Farzad because when I was new to the industry, he was kind of his TED Talks were basically my syllabus, and so getting to meet him was
too, right?
What's that?
You're a fan of the bow tie too, right?
Oh, totally. Well, we did an homage to Farzad at Hims 13 when we all wore bow ties. So, Yeah, I mean, so for me, the whole experience is great. There's a lot that goes into it, and big props to the rest of the social media team too. Like, they put a lot into this, and they do a great job. And I think all in all, the whole thing ends up being a lot of fun.
Yep, indeed. And, I think for the parties, it depends on who you know and what you're looking for, right? It goes kind of back to what Mandy said. Depends what you're looking for. There's so many state hymns meetups that are great if you want to meet some local people, while you're away and make some connections that way. I actually love the opening reception. I know some people don't like it, but I kind of like the serendipity of the opening reception and who you might discover, and kind of meeting people that are outside of your comfort zone that you don't know on social. I think it's a great place to meet up there. Some non-hymns ones, Encore Pub nights are always great. They do those 3 nights of the event. And Thelio has a casino night, I know, on Wednesday. There's a new one I'd never seen, Vaso Technology. They're doing something on Thursday. So for those people that are there late, that one's going to be a good one to wrap it up before you see the final keynotes and sessions on the 4th on Friday. So and those are a few. Obviously, I'm biased to the New Media Meetup on Wednesday, so we already mentioned that. But there's so many, right? So, to me, I think the key is who do you want to hang out with and focus on that, and you'll find out where the parties are, and you can go spend time with smart people. And if you're spending time with smart people, whether it's over drinks or whether it's on the dance floor or wherever it is, right? Like, you're going to create that connection. You're going to have opportunities to engage and inform yourself. So that's my big hint is stick around smart, successful people, and you'll have a great hymns.
Word.
Sweet. Well, I think we're at the hour, so I think we should wrap this up. Any final thoughts, Michael, for hymns newbies, for social media ambassadors, for social media hymns?
We could spend a whole nother hour talking about this, but just go in with a focus, but be open to course correcting along the way. Let that serendipity happen. This is follow the lead of the social media ambassadors. They're going to be creating and sharing a lot of great insights. That we picked them for a reason. You guys are great. So thank you so much for making all this possible and kind of stretching hymns a little bit in terms of, what's on the horizon for creating a community and sharing information. So all in all, thanks to all of you guys that tuned in. This is a lot of fun. And I look forward to meeting all of you on site.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for participating, especially those who hopped on camera and those who commented in the chat. And we'll see everyone in Las Vegas. I can report from Las Vegas. It's sunny and beautiful, a little bit chillier this week, but I think it's going to be beautiful weather, and you're going to love coming to my home, Las Vegas. So we'll see you, everyone, at HIM 16 in Las Vegas.
Big thanks to you too, John.
Thanks, Michael.